So, welcome to our second webinar. We're really glad that you guys are here. We're going to try a couple of different things today. Thanks for your patience on that. We've got some slides and different things we want to show you. But if you've just joined Married People for the first time, you're going, okay, who's the bald guy? And where is he? Well, my name is Ted Lowe, and I've been working with married couples for a really long time. I was the director of Married Life at North Point Church here in Atlanta, and have been working with Married People, which is the marriage division of Orange, our company, since 2010. So for a really long time. For those of you who don't know what Orange is an organization that's committed to impacting those who are impacting the next generation. We do that primarily through helping churches do that. And so one of the things we learned is we wanted to help churches, help families, was we really need to do that in the marriage space, because we know that one of the best things a church can do for kids is help mom and dad's marriage, or stepdad and mom's marriage, whatever marriage it is, impact the life of the kid. And even people that don't have kids that are married, we want to impact marriages, because, I'm not going to spend any time trying to convince you that marriage ministry is important. Let me know if I need to do that at any point. But I think we all get it. I think you're sitting here at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday because you already get that, and you're ready to get really, really practical. And I'm learning that more and more as I work with church leaders. They're like, we get it. We got the stories. We've got the heart for it. Now let's get really, really practical. So that's what we're going to do today. We're talking about planning your marriage ministry strategy for 2018. And this is when I get kind of geeked out, because we talk a lot about philosophy. Last time we talked about the 7 shifts of great marriage ministry that we've watched happen over the last few years. It's been remarkable. We're going to put that in the show notes that you'll be able to look at that webinar. But this time I thought, let's dive in. It's the first of the year. What are people trying to do? They want to plan out the year. And that's what I would highly advise, is you look at marriage ministry for the long haul. What are you going to do for this year? So we will, in the show notes, we'll let you know about the 7 shifts, but today we're going to dive in. Here's what I do know as I was prepping for today. I know that we're all coming from different places. Some of you have been doing, like Heather, you've been doing marriage ministry for a really long time. Some of you have been doing it a couple of years, and some of you are just wading in, and you're not even sure if you're ready yet. And this came in your inbox somehow, and you thought, I don't know where I am. I'm just going to watch and kind of fill this thing out. Well, everybody, welcome. Glad you're here. I think what we talk about is going to be relevant to all of us, and I'll try to keep all these audiences in our mind, or in my mind. I can't really keep anything in yours. I wish I could. Not really. You wouldn't want it. But at the end of this, we're going to give plenty of time for Q&A, and I've asked some of the folks that have been around for a while that it wouldn't just be me answering the questions, that would be them, and we could really, really learn together. Because if you're new to this Facebook page, this has been something that's been one of the most rewarding things that I've experienced doing marriage ministry. And our good buddy Robert is here. Robert, say hi, Robert. Robert has been such a great addition to our team. He's been here about 6 months, and he's done about 5 years worth of work. He's that guy, and he's the one that's helped us to build this group from, I think we were talking earlier, like 600 to like 1,400 people. And what that is, it's a group that you're in the club now. So I'm not trying to convince you to do anything. I'm just clapping that you already have. If you'll look through these pages, you can see you guys encouraging each other. And I love that. I love you teaching each other, asking each other questions. You guys are in the trenches, and that's been so fun. So know that today is not the thing. It's part of something, and it's part of this community that loves you and wants to train you, wants to help you, and partner with your passion to help married couples, because I believe that's why you're here today, again, on a Wednesday at 2. So let's dive in. Let's think about it. I'm going to go real high level, and then we're going to drill all the way down. And when you're done with this thing, hopefully you're going to have the tools to say, we're going to fill out a calendar. But the first thing is, step 1 is, when we think about marriage ministry, is you want to get buy-in from leadership, particularly senior leadership. This is so key. We need to recognize and remember, where does the power lie in our church? And that is with senior leadership. And the reason that this is so important, there's a million reasons, is without the senior pastor's support. I won't say that marriage ministry is impossible, but I will say it'll be very, very difficult. You need to have their buy-in, because when you have their buy-in, you get support in so many ways. You get support from up front to talk about what you're doing. they're championing your marriage ministry. They're a part of it. They're surrounding us. We know what it means. You guys know already how important it is to have the senior pastors buy-in. So how do we do that? Here's a couple of thoughts on that. I think what we need to do, because I did not do a good job of this for a long time, is we need to understand our pastor's point of view. You know, they know and understand the long-term plans, and they understand budgets. They get what's going on. And a lot of time in our passion to help families or in our passion to help marriage, we can fly in there and we got to do this, and this is the most important thing, and we can put leaders on the defensive. So I think to really understand, say, hey, here's a man or woman who feels the weight of it all. They feel the weight of budget. They feel the weight of all these different niche ministries coming to them saying, will you support me? So I think it starts with a healthy, to get their buy-in, a healthy understanding their point of view. I think when we go to them, and this is true whether you're needing continued support from your pastor, or you're trying to increase that support, or you're trying to get it for the first time. When we talk to them, we want to present a solution and not just a problem. Because I remember Rick Warren saying this for years and years. He goes, where there's a problem, there's usually a passion. I agree with that 100%. But I think a lot of times we shoot ourselves in the foot if we go to a pastor and we're saying there's this big problem with marriage and all these families are breaking apart and we need to do that something. We can put them on the defensive pretty quickly, and they're already overwhelmed probably. Your pastor's already feeling like his plate is full. He or she does probably not get up in the morning going, I'm just kind of bored. I wish I could think of something else to do. They're already feeling that. So if we can go with them with, hey, we've got a solution for this thing. And that's one of the things when we started Married People, in 2010, I thought, I want to give people a solution. We all know marriage ministry needs to happen. I want to help give them the tools that give them a solution to do this. In fact, we wrote a book, Married People, How Your Church Can Build Marriages That Last. I wrote it with Doug Fields, a friend and mentor of mine, and we actually scripted out this little thing. It's pretty cheesy, but you'll get the point of you going in, maybe for the first time for your senior pastor. It goes a little bit like this. Says, Pastor, I know your schedule is busy. This week, I'd like just 10 minutes of your time to cast a quick vision for how we can help marriages in our church. And I believe increase attendance. See what I did there? I'll do all the heavy lifting in terms of implementing the strategy. It will not add more to your plate. All you need to do is continue cheerleading for marriages like you already do. And I will come in with a concise agenda, and I will be out of your office quickly. When they feel like, hey, you're not trying to add something else to my plate. When they feel like, wow, here's someone with a passion, but they've also got a solution. It's really important in getting their buy-in. The other thing you want to do is tie the solution into the senior pastor's vision. What is his vision for the church? What is her vision for the church? And we want to tie what we're doing with them. A lot of pastors, part of their vision is to grow their church. I mean, let's be honest. We need growth. They want to make it bigger. They want, butts and seats and baptisms and budgets. This is the world they live in. And when we can tie our vision with theirs, it's huge. The vision of North Point Church is to lead people into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ. And the way we tie marriage ministry into that is to say, hey, I don't know about you, but when Nancy and I are having a hard time and I go to sit down and spend time with Jesus, it's more difficult. Our married life can radically impact our spiritual life. And so we want to tie those things and those dynamics in with the senior pastor. The other thing we want to do is we want to make the pastor the hero. We want to make them a hero. So here's an example. Like your pastor helps you champion a one-night event, and somebody comes up to you after and says, man, last night was so much fun. It was so great. You say, oh, I'm so glad you had a great time. Hey, you know what? The pastor was really the hero. If you get a chance, just thank him for getting behind us and supporting us and promoting us. And without his support, we just couldn't do it. And this is insincere, manipulative. It can be the furthest thing from that, but it is acknowledging that he or she is helping to support this thing, because again, we can't do it without their support. Finally, how do we get leadership buy-in? Is we want to knock it out of the park. When we create something, we want it to be so great that the word on the street about what we're creating is amazing. And so I would say that, let's say, for example, if you're going to do a one-night event or a retreat, don't do it until you can do it really, really well. I talked to a church leader not long ago, and he was telling me that, I said, how did your event go? And he said, I don't use this word much. He goes, but it was epic. He said, it went so well. He said, a lot of the church staff didn't show up, but a couple of them did. And then they went back to the church office and they were like, oh man, you guys missed the best night ever. So we had somebody else promoting it, not that he told them to, but because he knocked it out of the park, the word on the street was really good. So we want to really, success follows success. People are attracted to things that are working. So knock it out of the park. So we want to get senior leadership and buy-in. We want to let them know that we're on the same team. We're not competing with them, that we're supporting them. But being okay to say, I really need you on this thing, to cheerlead. I'll do all the rest. I got it. I got leadership. I got the resources. I got all that. But I need your support. Okay, next thing I want you to think about as we're planning for the year is identifying your leaders. Some of you may be, man, you are stocked up with great leaders. You are ready to go. A lot of us, most of us are going, we could do a little bit better in this area, or I wish I had more. The thing I ache for with people in marriage ministry is a lot of people are very, very passionate about it, but most of them are not paid to do it full time. But they have this great passion. And a lot of times out of that passion, we'll go, I'll just do it by myself. I'll just pull this off. And that's great, but that's momentum that we just can't sustain. We have to get people around us to support us and to champion us and to make this thing work. So here's some kind of thoughts on leaders. And again, this is one-on-one stuff. But for me, even as I was preparing for that, I thought, this is a good reminder that I need to remember in ministry. The first thing you want to do is look at someone with initiative. Like, are they the get it done people? I mean, I'm sitting across from Robert, and if I had to say one of the greatest gifts he's given married people, he just takes initiative. He just gets it done. I got this. He feels secure in who he is, and he does a great job of that. So look for somebody with initiative. Find someone who's resourceful, somebody that can just make something happen. The great thing is when you're looking for leaders, you don't have to find anybody that's necessarily a content creator or can, edit and shoot videos. We try to do that for you with married people, and there's other resources that do that as well. But you do want to find someone that's resourceful to make it happen. Someone who can make a room look like $1 million for 5. You want to find somebody that can really make things happen. And I'm imagining someone's popped in your head, or maybe you're that resourceful person. Laura, if you're on here, Laura Wright from Gray Baptist Church in Gray, Georgia. She's the most resourceful person that I know. And she just makes it happen. She gets people around her that are smart, and you walk into her environments and they're in these incredible rooms of great food, great decor, great places to have a picture made. And so find someone who is resourceful. Number 3, choose someone positive. This goes without saying, but sometimes we can see a leader and they've got some great skills, but here's my thing. If they're not positive, if they're negative, I don't know about you, I don't have the energy to deal with that. I don't have the energy to try to make them positive. Find someone who's positive, because positive people attract other positive people. We attract who we are. You want somebody that's going to be cheerleading this thing. You want people to tell you the truth without a doubt, but just to do it through the lens of positivity is so important. Number 4, be picky and choose wisely. Be very, very picky who you bring on to your team. What do they say? It's easier to hire than it is to fire. Find those people. Take the time, do your due diligence to find ones that are going to be great. If you're thinking about leaders for small groups, I will say this. When you thinking about your leaders, one of the biggest things I want to warn you against is finding people that are very passionate about marriage. They've had some hope in their own marriage, and they just can't wait to teach. They can't wait to share all that they know. And a lot of times you're not looking for that. You're looking for people that listen well, and not necessarily are teachers, but they're there because they want to help, they want to listen, and they want to draw the answers out of other people. So we need to choose wisely. Here's another thing I think is unique to marriage ministry is when you're looking for leaders, emphasize leader over couples. A lot of times people will tell me, they said, we just can't find a bunch of couples to help us with marriage ministry. I'm like, well, their ministry, somebody may be very passionate about marriage ministry or helping marriages, and they may be married to somebody like my wife who's very passionate about helping orphans. I mean, my wife, of course, is very passionate about us helping marriages, but for her heart breaks for the least of these. Her heart breaks for orphans. And so we've had to learn, but it's okay. It's okay to find people that are individuals and not just couples. And then I would say this goes without saying, but I'm reminding myself as much as anybody, pray throughout the process, because leadership, it takes a lot of faith and a lot of wisdom, and just pray that God will be part of that leadership process. So we talked about getting senior buy-in. We talked about leaders. Here's now step 3 is now. This is where it starts getting super practical. Gather with a group of people. Gather with these leaders. Gather with people that you think could speak into this. They don't have to be leaders forever. They don't have to work on this every day. But get a good group of people in the room that know your city, that know your church, that know your church culture, that knows leadership. Get those people in the room. It never hurts to get people that are going to support you as well. But get people in the room and start backing up and going, okay, as we look at 2018, and maybe even beyond, maybe you say 2018 and 19, take a breath and say, all right, what do we want to see happen? What would make the most difference? What do we think would be the most effective? And again, we're going to talk about what some of those things could be, but you're just sitting in a room. And that's the great thing with marriage ministry for a lot of us, is it's a pretty clean slate. And it's pretty fluid and it's pretty malleable where we can change it. It's not, for most of us, it's not a system that's been in place for 30 years. So we get the advantage of that because we all know about systems that have been in place for 30 years. Those are really hard to change. And the beautiful thing about marriage ministry is a clean slate a lot of times. So not that you can't build on things, but let's just take it. I always like to start a year. This is one of the things we hear around the place, Orange and all our culture, is not just what do we need to do, but what do we need to stop doing? What do we need to stop doing this year in order to do the things that maybe we should? Okay, so imagine you're in a room, the room of your choice. Make it a warm, friendly room, dry erase boards, creative boards, whatever you want that to be, but a good space for you guys to sit there and spend some time together. And then start talking about, what are those components that we want to put up on the board? So you've got your dry erase board and you go, okay, what are the things that we want to put up on the board? What are those components? Is it, do we want a mentor ministry? Do we want a newlywed ministry? Do we want a premarital ministry? Do we want to do a retreat? What are those components? So you put them on the board to do that. So I'm going to attempt, are you ready? I'm going to attempt to go to a keynote slide. So I'm going to need the grace of Jesus. Give me 2 seconds because I want to show you some slides and get us started on this. Let's see, Robert. I am not seeing the controls to do that. Do you mind scooting here and let me know? Where am I missing that? Do you see it? No. It went away. Don't go away, people. Oh, they're dropping. Don't go away. Give me 2 seconds. All right. Okay, you know what? We're going to be, what's that?
You may not have the option.
I don't think I have the option to share the screen. Okay, it's okay. We're going to do this. All right, so now as you're thinking through yours and components, you're all sitting in a room and you're looking at the dry erase board. What are those components? And I want to talk about some of the components that married people strategy has to kind of get you thinking, to kind of say, here's where, here's some places to start. And if you've been around married people a while, you know that we have 3 components. And we talked a good deal about, the philosophies behind them in the last webinar. But if you've been around for a while, we have large group experiences, small group experiences, and experiences for individual couples. Again, we talked about philosophies behind those and even some how-tos. But when I say larger group experiences, what I mean by that is groups that are bigger than a small group. A lot of people say we don't have large group experiences for married couples. We don't have a large group. I say anything that's larger than a small group, like what can happen if they're on the same room together? And this could be, this could be Sunday morning. That's a large group experiences that you're going to have married adults in, that you can talk about marriage. There are one-night events, which we're a huge fan of. One-night events are large group experiences. Another is retreats. You can do them there. So whatever it is, when you get a group together, there's some great things that can happen. So as you're looking at your dry erase board, can you tell I have an imaginary dry erase board in my head right now every time I'm doing this? So sorry, very visual. So on your dry erase board, you want to put, what are our larger group experiences? Do we want to have something around Valentine's Day, before Valentine's Day? Do we want to have something 4 times a year? When do we want to do that? But asking those questions. Do we want to have a sermon series on marriage? What do we want to do in a large group space? Because, and I'm not going to take a lot of time on this, the value of large groups, but what they do is they promote everything else in your strategy. They become, you go to Walmart You got Walmart there, and you've got all the other side businesses beside it. Walmart promotes all those other businesses. So what your large groups do is your Walmart promotes all your smaller avenues that are, you know, just as important. So large groups, what are large groups going to do this year? Then look at the dry erase board and go, where are we going to leverage community? Where are we going to leverage small groups? For some of you, and what I would say to that, what are your existing contexts? Because the great thing with marriage ministry is the bad thing with marriage ministry. A lot of times nothing's in place. The great thing with small groups is there's some things for a lot of you that's already in place, whether that's Sunday morning or life groups, community groups, small groups, whatever you guys call them in your church, home groups. How can you interject into those existing contexts without creating another one? What can you inject in there? Maybe you list those and you say, hey, our small group is Sunday school, our small group is life. How can we get content in those groups? What are those groups? Now, some of you may say, you know what? We've got mixed groups, so we can't do marriage content when there's singles and marriage in the room, which I would disagree with, because I know singles are just as interested a lot of times as married couples. But if you want to do a one-time group, or people that aren't quite ready to commit to a year, 18 months of a small group, but they might for a 6-week small group study, that's a different story. So that might be some question you want to ask. Is there a affinity group around marriage that we want to have? So you put that up on the board. Then finally, you put, what are those things that you can help couples do when you're not around? I mean, let's face it. I mean, we know that the best thing we can do as a church is partner with parents so they can partner with the kids spiritually. Why? Because they're with their kids way more than we are. That's even more extremely true when it comes to married couples. We as the church, we don't have them a lot. We don't have them in our world a lot. So we've got to enter their world as much as we can. How can we do that? How can we help individual couples? And what I mean by that, how can we help them on their own? Not in a large group, not in a small group, but how can we help them when we're not around? And so for us, a couple of thoughts on how do you do that. We do this thing called Married People Monthly, where it's customizable email that we send to you. You make it, some people just send it out like it is, but we'll do the homework, make it look great. You send it out. That's the one thing for every couple. The other thing is date nights. It's helping people to couples to date well. It's a concept they already get. It's something that a lot of them have brought them together. It can also be used as a tool to keep them together if we do it in the right way. So again, you've got your people around the table, and you're looking at your dry erase board, and you go, what do we want to do in large groups? What do we want to do in small groups? And what do we want to do for individual couples? How are we going to do that? Okay, here's our next step. Step 4. This is about creating an annual marriage ministry calendar. I'm talking the whole year, if not a year and a half too, but I'm not going to get greedy. Sorry. You like my daughter's straw. We're not going to get greedy. Let's think about the year from right now. What's today, the 10th, until next year. Is today the 10th? Yeah, today's it. And a full year, what is that gonna look like? I think before you get into writing those things on the calendar, before you start putting them in the slots, here's a couple of things to remember, is we've got to address the obstacles. The number one obstacle that we all know, but I just think we need to wrap our heads around it and remember it, is people are what? They're busy. They're so busy. And so what we want to do is we want to roll with the rhythm of their lives instead of asking them to roll with the rhythm of church calendar or what would work best for the church. We've got to roll with what's going on with them. So we got to acknowledge, okay, people are going to be busy. So what does that mean? For some people, that means that they do their one-night events. If they do, outreach events, one-night events, that they're picking the right night to do that. I had just one church, they said, we do ours on Thursday night. And I remember thinking, Thursday night, you got to be kidding me. But what they explained to me was, they said, people, their kids are playing sports on Saturday, and they're not going to miss that for a marriage event. She goes, but they'll miss practice on a Thursday night for their kids. So they found that Thursday night was great. Friday nights have always been really hard for me, just even across the country. When people say I want to do a Friday night event, I'm like, people are exhausted, they're getting off work. But when are those times you want to roll with what's going to work for them? And the other thing is knowing what makes them busy. What are they busy with? Are they busy with sports in your area? What are those times a year that your community, I know this one church said when they have the Peanut Festival that they don't even have church during the Peanut Festival. There's so many people are busy. What are those things? We live here in the South, SEC football. Robert and I are still recovering against the loss from Georgia to whatever that other Alabama team's name. It was a hurtful loss, but let me tell you, If you decided to have a marriage event on Monday night, your mama would not even have been there with you. So you got to know where they're busy and plan accordingly. The other thing is to know that men are reluctant to participate. That is just an obstacle. They think when you talk about marriage ministry, they did a study 10 years ago. We talked about this last webinar. And people's impression of marriage ministry is that it's preachy, boring, outdated, and feminine. And so we've got an image problem, and men especially, they're reluctant to participate. So we have to really model that. We have to market with that in mind. We have to message with that in mind. We have to program with that in mind. So we need to acknowledge that. The other thing that I've seen is more key than ever is this: childcare can be expensive as well as difficult to find. If there's deal killer for a lot of people engaging in your marriage ministry, it is childcare. It's expensive. I mean, I know for us to get a babysitter, we don't have to do that as much. Our kids are a little bit older. But before, I mean, you know, it was $40, $60 for a night. And you're going, that's crazy. So if we can help them solve that problem, and again, if you can't solve that problem in the first year, at least put it on your dry erase board that you want to eventually move to that, and creative ways to do that. We've got churches who point people to, they give them a list of high school students, or and they raise a little bit of money for a missions trip. But just get creative on how to do that. But that's a problem that we have to acknowledge and to solve. This is a huge one. Another obstacle we have is the "my marriage isn't bad" mentality. There's so many people that when you start saying that there's a marriage thing for marriage on church, they think, well, that's not for me. Why? Well, my marriage is not bad. And so they don't know or don't think to work on their marriage unless something is broken. So this is a rewiring. And so one of the things I would say is when you're promoting an event for marriage and you want everybody there, you say, all right, imagine you're on Sunday morning. All right, if you are married, raise your hand. Okay? If you know someone is married, raise your hand. What I'm about to talk about is relevant to you, because they literally don't have the brain pathway. You could say, we have a marriage thing coming up, and it's not just for couples that are struggling, it's for everybody. You know, we want to work on marriage. We don't want to wait until it's broken. We want to focus and enjoy our marriages now, and you get to start casting that vision, but you got to know that that's there. The other thing is, you got to know that many people are terrified of therapy and counseling. I have learned so much over the years that when you say to, especially a man, you need to go see a counselor, it's like taking a Sharpie and writing loser on his forehead. Now, I don't get that now because we are very pro. My wife and I are very pro counseling because we've done it. But I will never forget the moment. I was working at a church and I was up in front of people and I needed to go see a counselor. And I remember saying to the counselor, I'm reluctant about this. I'm going to do it, but you have to let me come in through the back door. And I look back now and I think that was so silly. Why would I do that? I mean, it's just walking with the wise. But I never want to forget it because that's how I felt. And I think most people do. So when we're describing what we're creating, do not paint it as therapy, or you're not going to be there with many people. That we need to paint it that this is positive. One of the examples I've watched happen is we used to do these large events, and we had a ministry that would work with couples that were in crisis. And they would say, will you promote our small group environment for couples in crisis? And we would say, yes. And so we get up there, hey, if your marriage is in crisis, we have this great small group thing. I said to him one time, I said, can I promote it a little differently? He said, what do you mean? I said, can I sell it as not for couples in crisis, but maybe they're stuck or struggling a little bit? And so my wife promoted it. She comes up and she says, hey, tonight we're talking about celebrating differences. And if you're like Ted and I, and you've ever struggle with celebrating differences, we've got this great class that's coming up. It's just 6 weeks, and it's great for any marriage. But if you're stuck and struggling, it's even better. We quadrupled the sign up because it was one of those things is don't put a label on me, especially if I'm a guy. And I think women too. Don't put a label on me that I'm broken. And please don't tell me it's going to be therapy because I'm scared to death of it. The other thing to think about in your calendar. So that's some obstacles. The other thing when you're talking about putting your calendar together is the earlier, the better. The sooner you can get this thing done, the better. Now, I don't want to pressure you to hurry up and get this thing done, but I will say this. Whenever you plan to launch, maybe that you're going to launch in February, maybe you're going to launch in summer, maybe in fall. Just the earlier you can get on people's calendar, the better. Because here's what happens. And this is the other point. Don't get punched out by the calendar. I will do a lot of events or hear people talking about events, and they're not displeased with their event. They talk about how great it was. They use words like epic. What they're not pleased with is the attendance. And I'll say, when did you start promoting it? And well, you know, a couple of weeks ago. Well, here's the thing. Soccer practice is going to beat you to the punch. Kids' schedules are going to beat you to the punch. SEC football is going to beat you to the punch. Everybody's beating you there. So people are not displeased with the event. They're displeased with the attendance. So we got to beat people to the punch. We got to get on their calendar before something else does. We at my church, we would give people, we would do 4 events a year, and we would give them all 4 events at the first year. One year we had a question about one of the dates, and I was like, well, it does, you know, we give in the calendar every year, but maybe this year it's just okay. We'll just promote it one at a time. You guys, it dramatically impacted our attendance, because what we would say is, hey, we've got all these things on the date, on the calendar for your marriage, and we want you to schedule your life around it a little bit. We've been very careful to make sure we didn't do it in times that were really hard for you. But you know what? We want you to miss soccer practice 4 nights this year because we want you to come to an event. We want you to plan your vacation around this retreat because we really think it's important for you to be there. We want to make sure that we want to help you find a babysitter so you can go on 4 dates this year. Whatever those things are, but just to be able to say to them, here's what we have. Here's what we have for you. So you get that on the calendar. And then here's the thing, church, and we're not great at this sometimes. And Robert's got really great things to say about this because he works with church communications and different things is, you know, Robert, what percentage of people find that your church through the website for the first time? That's their first impression.
Probably about 75%.
75% of the time, your first impression about your church is not driving up the parking lot. It's not your multi-million-dollar, multi-$100,000 facility. It is your website. So there's great templates now with WordPress. There's teenagers in your church could do something great. If you don't have any say-so maybe with the overall website, one of the things we suggest is you can do a couple page WordPress site for yourself. You could do a page like this, Facebook Live, where you're pointing everybody back to Facebook. That way you're able to control the timing of it. But nobody's waking up in the morning going, I wonder what my church is doing for marriage this year. We got to be coming to them. We got to have something very, very clear. I love printed pieces if that's a possibility. Here's what we have for you. Put it on your fridge. But we got to market and we got to message this thing well. And that goes full circle back to the senior pastor. When it comes to marketing, it comes to messaging, a huge percentage of your people coming to your church are coming so because they like to hear what's coming out of the senior pastor's mouth. If you can get the support for them, like if I had an event coming up and somebody said you can show a 15-minute promo video or the pastor will tell people they need to come, I'll go with the pastor every single time. Is allowing him to cast vision. And if you go to him early enough with a calendar, he's going to be way more likely to get it done than you call him in on a Wednesday saying, can I have an announcement this week? I hear that from a lot of you. We just can't get support. I'm like, the more warning you give your systems, the better. And that is one of the, here's a couple of quotes that I just want to end on, and we're going to take some questions on that. I want to read you a couple of quotes that I love. Because before we dive into questions, I mean, this is why we're doing what we're doing. Okay, this is from a one-night event. This is a attendee from a church. He says, my boss invited me and my wife, so we felt like we had to go to the marriage event. We didn't know we could have had so much fun in church. We're excited to come back for another marriage event. And then he's got fun story in parentheses. He said, fun story. This guy ended up getting a promotion about 6 months later. He credits our large group date night, whether that's the reason or not, we'll take it. Heather, this is from Heather's church. Heather would tell you that she lives in an impoverished area where they don't charge people to come to their events. And this is one of the responders says, thank you for the free night, free from the stress of when do we find time, free from the stress of where do we go, free from the stress of what do we do, free from the stress of who will watch our kids, and free from the stress of spending money on ourselves and not our kids. That they offered a free night, free from all these things, and they just nailed it on that. And this is the final one, is it was comforting to be in a place where we could actually feel and act like we didn't have it all together. Our marriage is a work in process, but we're not alone in that. So here's, at the end of the day, as you're dreaming, as you're doing the hard work, as you're planning your calendar, is we got to remember again, well, why are we doing this? It's not just to get a calendar done. It is to impact marriages, that impact the life of kids, that impact everything. I mean, every study that's coming out more and more, and it has always been the case, but some people are saying that marriage is irrelevant. Here's what we know. It's not irrelevant to anything important to us. It's not irrelevant to families. It's not, and when you think about your church, it's not irrelevant to attendance. It's very relevant to your attendance, your tithing, your volunteerism, just worship is so impacted by marriage, and the health of the kid and their future is so determined by what's going on at home. So, and here's the thing, the last thing, and we're jumping to question is marriage is supposed to represent the relationship between Christ and the church, right? So here's the question. What are the marriages of your church saying about your church? And what are the marriages of your church saying about Christ? It's the number one marketing tool. Marriage is the number one marketing tool of your church, because what is more attractive right now than a marriage that's working in a society that's kind of thrown it away? And when it's working, there's nothing more beautiful to draw people to your church. Nothing. And final thought on that is millennials' top two priorities are to be great parents and to have a great marriage. People say millennials don't care. They seem to care more than any of us. They're also very experiential. So guys, when we do marriage ministry right, when we do family ministry right, it is a great bridge into millennials, because their faith is number 5. And we can talk about, oh, they've got the priorities messed up, or we can go, whoa, this is a great opportunity. Because if marriage matters to millennials, the church can matter to millennials. So that's just some thoughts about getting in a room, being strategic, doing the hard work. And then we want to help you with the resource part, because we know, I don't know what percent it is, but there are very few churches that have a full-time marriage pastor. Very, very few. If you're one of them, give us a thumbs up. So what we did, and I was a full-time marriage pastor at a church, is people kept asking, what do you have to help us? And I didn't have a good enough answer, and that's when we started Married People, because I wanted a great answer for that. Now hundreds of you guys are doing marriage ministry, so we've created lots of resources for you. Our number one thing that we want to give you guys is this. I'm going to get it here, Robert. For a strategy pack, it gives you everything you need to create 4 one-night events or a retreat. You can customize that, make your own. You can use 20% of it, 100% of it. It's got a small group study in there on money, which is fantastic. We give you 4 dates that you give to couples doing their own, and then we send you a once-a-month email. There's training and all these different tools. We just wanted to overwhelm you in a very clear way and give you all the tools in your toolbox to use. Again, if you use 20% of it, 100% of it, it's worth it. This webinar, there's a coupon code. If you use webinar 0118, spell out webinar and then 0118, that is part of the benefit of watching this and just being on this part of this community. Here's the thing. I wish we could do all this for free. I wish we didn't have to charge anybody to do this. Unfortunately, that's just not the reality of what we do. So this is really all of us doing it together, and we really want to partner with you. And you've taught us so much on these resources and stuff. So right now we're going to take some questions. Here we go. I'm going to look on this. All right, Robert, let's see. How do we sign up for the marriage tool pack? Okay.
I'm about to post the link right now.
Robert is going to post the link right now. One of the things I want to acknowledge by the website is we're talking about that. We have created, now if you go to marriedpeople.org, it is a site straight for couples. Because what we are finding is when people hear marriedpeople.org, who do they think it's for? They don't think it's for church leaders. They're thinking it's for married couples. We're rolling with that momentum. But you just click on churches once you're there, or you can go to, the church site is marriageleaders.com.org.
Marriageleaders.org.
Marriageleaders.org. You can get there from marriedpeople.org. You click on churches, but we changed that, and we've got a podcast that's straight to couples. We've got a blog that's straight to couples, just because we know, if nothing else, if your church can't do a lot for marriage, you can at least point them to marriedpeople.org, and that's going to help them out. But we have not left you. Let me see. I'm looking for more questions. All right. Would love to hear about a church that has successful mentor program for couples. Anybody want to jump in on that? Anybody jumping in on that? That's a good question. Let's see. I might have to let you guys jump in on that. We don't have a program for that. I'm trying to think who does. When you think about marriage ministry, and just to speak to that for just a second, there's a bell curve in terms of you've got people on this end are falling apart, and you got this bell curve, and over here that are just champion marriage studs. What we tend to do is this is very small percentage, and so is this. So what we try to focus on is the bell curve, which is the most of the people. Because churches, we can kind of camp out one of the two areas. I love mentor programs now. Not bagging that, just wanted to bring that out a little bit. Josh Fortney says, I recommend positioning the conversation about the church playing offense in marriage instead of defense. See, you're from Texas, Josh, and you like that football language. But it's funny. I heard that today. I heard that from another leader today. That's a great that we're going in this thing. Hey, let's be on each other's team. Let's support each other. That's great, Josh. How do we convince pastors to devote sermon dates to marriage? Well, here's one example. A church in, I think it was Colorado. I was just hearing about a guy that they're doing all this research. No, I'm sorry. It was in Phoenix. Okay, Ted, doesn't matter. Anyway, so there was a church, and there's a group that's giving them all this data, and they're also promoting for them. And what they were finding from the data in the city was that there are all these people that are interested and were struggling in their marriage. And they were doing a series going through Acts. And once the leadership got the information that there were all these people struggling in their marriage, the church has stopped and they did a series on marriage and family. And he said what they found was unbelievable because they had new families in their church. The other thing they found is they had a lot of people come back that had left. I thought that was an interesting stat. So sometimes we don't think about that pool of people, but they're still waiting in the wings. We had them one time, and maybe it's not quite as hard to recapture their heart. But when you talk, here's the thing, when you talk about marriage, all of a sudden it puts us all on the same page. One of the things I would say to senior pastors is this, is when we started our marriage series and marriage events, all of a sudden our people were telling us they were inviting friends and family, which that didn't make any sense to me on paper. How do I get a non-believer to church? Let's talk about marriage. It didn't make sense. But what people would share with me was, hey, it's easier to invite somebody to a marriage thing than to a church thing. And then it hit me, when your marriage is not working, nothing's working. But when your marriage is better, everything's better. So I think when we talk about that millennials are really interested, right now millennials represent the largest number of people in our country. When we say, hey, the top two things that millennials are interested in are marriage and parents, that's a pretty good incentive because they want to reach. I mean, they've got great hearts. They're not in ministry for the money, right? They want people to come there. So that's some of the things I would say. All right. What makes things epic? What makes people talk? That's a great answer. I would say this. I think what makes things epic is people, especially men, think they're walking into a Valentine's Day banquet. So let's talk about when you say epic one-night events, first thing I think of, because it's a little bit more programmed. They walk in and the room surprises them. Laura, if you're on here, I know one of the greatest things that you guys did a whole night based around football. You walk in, there's football helmets on every table. Food is, tailgate food. Your backdrop was like, I think you had like a goalpost or whatever. And so they walk in and it was like, wow, I thought I was going to a Valentine's Day banquet. Look at this thing. What else makes it epic is that it's fun. I mean, we can leverage laughter. We have found that bringing couples up on stage and playing a silly game, you get multi-$1,000 laughs for free because people can kind of empathize with those people, or they laugh at those people. Make sure your content's super solid and it's just talking about one thing. You're not overwhelming people with too much information. Your production value's good. People feel like they're cared for most of all. When I walked in, I felt greeted, I felt helped, I felt served, I felt loved, I felt empowered. And I think what makes it epic too is events, especially if we don't give them now what's, if we don't give them next steps, sometimes events cause more confusion than they do connection. So I think what makes something epic is you allow somebody to be okay with giving them just a little bit of content. with a lot of now what's to follow up. So it's just thinking through, you know, what would be epic for you? I mean, you think about across the country, we're all watching the same movies. And what that says is we're all drawn to the same level of excellence. And so we want to be excellent for people. And, you know, what makes things most excellent, if required, is relationship. You know, when you start thinking getting in a small group, if somebody feels like I am not alone, I had people that were authentic with me. They were real with me. The content was great, but I felt cared for. I felt empowered. And it is doing what only the church can do. And that is surround people that are living very, very isolated lives. We're not living in tribes like we used to. What makes it excellent is they feel like a group of people cared for them. And that's going to trump, you know, if your video doesn't play well, that's going to trump, you know, any of those things that they feel cared for. So I hope that helps, Jessica. Okay, we've got love strong marriages using the book Devoted. Kim, is that answering the mentor question? Love strong marriages using the book Devoted. Josh Fortney says, we have a mentor program. PM me and I'll share more. So good deal. Josh, I want to hear more. How did I not know this? So go to Josh. Prepare and Enrich has great mentoring resources. Yes, they do. That's from Life Innovations. They have great resources for that. We have a thing on our site right now called Couples Checkup. That's another great resource to help. It's kind of couples can jump on there and they can see where they're connected and where they're challenging. So those are some good things, and they can talk through that with mentor folks. Oh, here you go, Kim. Awesome. Strongmarriages.com. Good deal. Brian says we do love and respect, and then we have people who graduate from that starting mentor in couples. Love that. Love that. I know John McGee at Watermark Church, they run people through the Reengage program, and then they end up being mentors there too. Todd Graham says, unofficially, some of our highly engaged couples have taken some couples under them and started the married people small groups. Good deal. Jennifer asks, what is the best way to get people to commit to RSVPing? It seems like even when we put it out there way in advance, we still have people, hard to get people to commit. You know what I'm hearing from most of you, a lot of you lately, is the larger group component has been the most difficult. I'm hearing that from large organizations as well, like Compassion International, who they get a lot of their children sponsored through events, and they're saying just nationwide that they're having a lot of people aren't doing events as much. You know, people used to follow a pastor or they'd follow a speaker because that was the only way they could hear them. Well, now you can go on YouTube and hear them. Millennials, they're not spending as much. They've gotten a lot of great content for free. So that's different. So that's where I think the church has to distinguish itself, that you're not just getting a program or speaker, but you're getting into something relational and something experiential. That's another thing millennials love, is that they're experiencing. The other thing I would say, with not everybody can do this, Heather, I know this wouldn't be possible at your church, but I always say if you can charge enough for the tickets where people won't throw them away, that's what we would have to do. We're going to charge just enough so they don't throw them away. This offset cost, but it also got them to commit. And what was funny about that is we did a thing in our church called Childcare reimbursement. So people would get their own babysitter. They'd send in a form, and we would pay them so much per hour to keep those number of kids, and they would hand it to their babysitter. So if somebody was, you know, they would get $40 worth of reimbursement back for childcare, and they spent $24 on tickets. So you see how the math does there. But it's like, what we're finding is people don't want to pay for tickets and for childcare. So I say charge just enough. So that's why the childcare thing, once again, is so important. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Let's see.
How do you find childcare volunteers?
How do you find childcare volunteers? That is a great question. You know, a lot of times the poor children's ministry goes, you want us to be your volunteers? You kidding me? We're already tapping out our people. One of the things, again, I mentioned a little bit earlier, is childcare reimbursement. It sounds crazy, but again, you find your own babysitter. We provide a form. They turn it in, and the church cuts them a check. Our executive pastor at our church will tell you, because it scares people to death. You know, how do you budget for that? What's that going to look like? A lot of people won't turn it in. They're like, I'm not going to make the church pay for my child care. but the ones that need to will use it and then get reimbursed for that. It's way easier than finding babysitters. Think how scalable that is. It can go as many people that can find their own babysitter. So that's been a huge thing. We've watched youth ministries help keeping kids. Of course, you got to have a lot of quality adults around, but using youth ministry pieces to do that is important. All right. I know you guys are answering some of these questions, so you guys make sure you're reading the feed there. And I'm just going to go to questions because I know you guys are answering each other's. Where are we on that, friend?
I think we've addressed most of the ones.
Have we caught up?
Yeah. We've got 5 minutes till 3, so we can start to wind down.
Okay. What sort of marriage support materials are appropriate to put on your website? That's a great question. And I'm not sure that is appropriate. I don't know, Matt. I'm not sure what the fear there is. So if you want to chime in and let me know what's appropriate. I think one of the things you can do is you can do marriedpeople.org. And we've made, we try to be appropriate. Most of the time we're appropriate. There's the podcast on there. There's the blog on there. There's different resources on there. So that's one thing you could do. But I just think it's fine for you, and maybe your blog, you have a blog site. You put things up. You find best practices out there and send it to them. And I think you should be okay on that, Matt. Okay. I love this from Archie. He said, Child Reimbursement Plan screams we are for your marriage. Now, so Archie's in a church in South Georgia. I would say, I don't know, Archie would say small to medium sized church. And that childcare reimbursement works well for them too. And they're just a smaller community, and they're really tight. And I love when I hear that this is really a good thing for churches that are in really thick community, smaller as well. One of the things we've suggested too is, as far as the date nights go, if you're sending couples out on their own, is have people to swap childcare. Like, I'll keep my friends' kids and let us go out, and then the reverse is true. Let me see. I think we've answered. Have we answered everything here? I think so. I think we've got a few more minutes. Yeah. You guys, I hope this was helpful.
You want to plug the coupon code again?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Thanks, Robert. All right. Coupon code. This is for the strategy pack. It's webinar 0118. Are we going to have a link in the feed?
I posted it twice.
Okay, cool. There's a link in the feed a couple times. Robert's put it on there. But we love doing this. And here's the thing we learned from our last one is the conversation continues after we say goodbye. And we keep answering each other's questions and hanging out. Please hear me. We're here for you. I mean, this is our passion. Someone was asking in our small group, if you could do one thing in the world, what would you do? And I'll be honest, it would be this. I feel called to this. I feel like this is God has created me to do it for such a time as this. Maybe he changes my mind next year, but I do feel like it's a lifelong call. And to watch how marriage ministry is morphing, to watch how you guys are learning and teaching and creating incredible stories for couples, helping them in simple ways, it's just massive. So let's keep connected on this page. Let's keep asking. And here's the thing. We're a group of people that are sitting around doing our best. We do surveys. We're doing that soon. We'll send that out to you. Let us know what to do better. But we're people that are leaning into you. Help us to make this thing better. And if we're doing something that you go, that's not helpful, or I wish you'd do this, let us know. I mean, here's the thing. We're tough skin. We're here to help. So let's do this thing together. We really want to be different in that way. We really want to be an organization that that you're really partnered with, because we say we say to each other all the time, but I just hope people know that we're not a product, that we're a partnership with people. And for all those of you who've been partnered for a while, thank you. You've become dear friends, and all of you that's just joined us for the very first time, know that we're here. Know that we want to help. So love you guys. Let us know what else we can do for you. Okay.